Beginning with an overview of the new third-party enhancement to Viva, we're going to start from the registration tab, and you'll now notice that there are differentiations between registration types. So here you can see these are listed as the other registration types, which is anything outside of a out license or completely InView owned registration. And then here you have plain registration, which is registrations that are fully owned by InView. And this is also where the out license registrations are housed. So you can now filter based on what you are looking for. So if you are looking for specifically other registration types, and then maybe specifically I'm looking for Me Too in licensed products, you can see those here. Or if you want to see the other registration type, so maybe something that doesn't hold or require registration, you can filter by those. So those are the considered other registration types, and then has a more descriptive third column here called, and you can see the different options. So we have no registration required, a distribution, an import, or maybe there's one that's unclassified. So if I want to see specifically import permits, I can hit apply, and I would see the listed registrations. To create a new third-party registration record, you begin from the registration tab, which we are in, and then simply hit create and registration. You will then be given a pop-up box which looks the same as before. The only difference is you will click and select other registration type and then continue. You immediately will notice that there is a very good set of descriptions given for the specific types of registration and which one you should select. So please be careful when you are selecting which license type, and be sure to read these descriptions thoroughly. So in order to create a registration record for a Me Too or in-license product that is outside of the US, you will begin here in the registration tab, go to create registration, similar to before, and the only difference is you'll click on this drop down and select other registration type. From here you can see that the system gives you a detailed listing of what you should select depending on your situation. And it's very important to make sure you're selecting the correct type of license so that we can keep our records clean and accurate. So in this case, we are looking for a Me Too registrations, which is when a third party owns the root registration at the competent authority. So please keep in mind as you're trying to determine which you should select, that the ownership is based on the registration at the competent authority. So, and then different factors are then placed in the product involvement section. So data ownership, marketing distributor, all of those can be listed out in the product involvement section. You also will notice that the 108 number is no longer a required field. This will be done automatically now in the background. The chemical and the nature and the type are automatically filled into the most common, so that to help you save a few clicks, but you still have the option to change it if that is applicable. And so we will simply select our few types here. The market segments have also been updated for InView, and then you can fill in any additional information that you may know at this time. So you can see here if you know the registration number or the approval date or expiration date, you can complete those. But if you don't know them at this time, you'll be prompted again later. We then will hit save. All right, this takes us out of the create state and into the planned state for this record. We'll begin here by following the checklist that you have, checklist of actions for reg managers. And so the first one is to add any local documents, including emails, to this record. So this will be any local documents that have been submitted on behalf of this registration or emails pertaining to it. So upload, you can click and attach, or you can simply drag and drop. Next, And our checklist is to add the trade name. So we'll go here. If you have a new trade name, you can add it directly into the system by going to create and adding it, or you can search. I would recommend always searching for the name first to be sure we don't end up with duplicates. If you have more than one, you can hit save and create, but if you just have one, you can hit save. And returning to our checklist, we're now moving to number 3, which is the product involvement section. Reminder, this section is used to document how other companies are involved with this product. So we want to use this section to show any of the little caveats with the product specifics, and then we have a very good definition so you know which one to select. In this example, I'm going to say that the registration owner and the data owner are the same, and in this example it's going to be BASF. If you have specific comments or contacts for BASF, you may enter them here to document that. I know that I want to create a second, so I'm going to use the save and create. And now I'm going to enter the marketing and distributor, which is InView. And then I know I also have, there's one other, we have the legal representative for this one as well, which is going to be a third party company. And now I'll hit save. Returning to our checklist, we want to add labels that are associated with this record. And these can be done by moving to the label section. And of course, if you know the specification or production sites, you can add those as well, but those aren't necessarily things that are definitely known, but there is the option there as well. So we're going to move to the label section, hit add. And if you've already uploaded it, you can select from the list, or if you need to create it, you can create. And you'll notice that you only can select from two options. So the rest of the world in license labeling or the US in license labeling. And since this is for the rest of the world, we will use this option and then drag and drop our document there and hit next. I'm going to fill in the required metadata here. And so these are, and then depending on the type of document you've uploaded for a label, if there's specific ownership or issuing organization, those would be completed here. The product line will be automatically filled in based on the registration, and then you can hit save. Now that the checklist has been completed in the planned state, we're ready to move with using the workflow and the chevron icon to the approval and contract assessment portion. So here, once we click approve, you'll notice we have another pop-up that prompts for some fields. So these fields all should be completed based on the information you put in the product involvement section here. So all of these responses should come from one of the company names that you selected in the product involvement section. So we will begin here. And this is simply documenting what our responsibilities are as InView and what the other company's responsibilities are. So who is creating that registered label that is being submitted to the authorities? In this example, I'm going to say BASF is the registration owner, and they are the ones communicating back and forth with the authority. Who is creating the artwork? InView creates the artwork. Who creates the InView branded safety data sheet? BASF is responsible for that. Who is providing the adverse effects reporting back to the agency if this is applicable? If it is not applicable, you can simply add not applicable. Here's any comments that can be very important to store for later. And then, like I mentioned before, we will be prompted again for a registration number, registration name, and then contract approval date, contract expiration date. If you know that information, you can enter it here. And the expiration we'll say is in 2029. Start. You can now see the registration record is in the approved state, and we now have a new tab called Contract Assessment, which is where those fields that we just completed are going to be stored moving forward. At this point, we have a few more checklists to follow of adding a specification number to the record. So going here and adding a specification number, as well as then tracking any additional registration actions that come over the course of this product's lifetime. So any additional information that you need to store down the road can be placed here under the registration actions. And that works very similar to the regulatory actions that you're used to. However, is just a little more open and broad to account for the different types of products that we're looking at here.